Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. Clash of the Champions overall, as a whole, was not really all that great of a show. It featured a lot of rematches, complete with botched finishes in the very ridiculously booked tag team division, and so many more mistakes, but it also produced two of the best segments WWE has had on TV in many, many years, with a really, really good triple threat Intercontinental Championship ladder match, and Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship, which was a very predictable match. We all knew how it was going to end, but my God, the way they went about ending it made it still one of the most important moments of the night, and going forward, you'd have to have no pulse and absolutely be brain dead to not be interested to see where this is going, as heel Roman Reigns is definitely here, but there's still one thing wrong with him, and we'll talk about all of that and so much more right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Clash of Champions review and reaction show, only on Sledgehammer TV. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
It's all about the moments. Wrestling is about storytelling. It's all about the memories, man. And tonight they made some pretty serious memories. Not just for the entire Uso clan and the whole entire Roman Reigns family and all of the Samoans in that whole entire tribe, but for everybody in the WWE universe, because heel Roman Reigns is definitely a thing. And it's something that we've all been asking for so long, and when you see how well it turned out, by the end of this night, if you don't believe in a heel Roman Reigns, all you got to do is watch Clash of Champions. See what this guy did to his cousin, that final segment where Jimmy Uso was forced to come out to protect his own brother and throw in the towel despite how Jey was pleading for him not to, as Roman Reigns continued to beat him as if he was a complete stranger, as if he was somebody that hurt his children. The beating Roman Reigns dished out tonight was reminiscent of something out of a horror movie. It was intense. It was dramatic. It was done very well. And my hat goes off, and the hammer goes down in a good way on Roman Reigns and Jey Uso and everybody involved in that segment tonight. And where they're going to go from here, who knows? Who knows? But to say that my interest is not piqued would be a complete and total lie, which is not what we're about. The rest of the card, other than the Intercontinental Championship matchup, was an absolute waste of everybody's time. The show kicked off on the Kickoff show with the Sushi Bar, Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro taking on the Loser House Party. This is so unimportant it got pushed to the Kickoff show because the Women's Tag Team Championship was removed from the card. Nikki Cross was removed from the card, all due to, not being cleared, health reasons and whatever. So the Tag Team Championships of SmackDown, being that we've seen this 100 times already, was relegated to the pre-show. And I don't care at all about this match. Nobody really did, so they're not hurting anybody by putting them on the Kickoff show. But here's the thing. They even had to tweak my buttons here because Shinsuke and Cesaro win this matchup. Fair and square, by the way. And the Lucha House Party seemingly doesn't care now. Like, they lost the other night and they're fighting. One week they're breaking up. The next week they're back together. They don't give a shit. One week Kalisto's the leader. The next week this guy don't care. Like, what are you doing? The inconsistency with this team really makes you care even less than I know most of you already do. And if you're anything like me, you don't care at all. But at least be consistent. They just lost what is hopefully their final attempt at the tag team championships, and now they're not imploding, now they're not pissed at Kalisto, now nobody gives a shit. Well, if they don't, why should I? We head towards the main show finally, and it kicks off with the Intercontinental Championship ladder match, where Sami Zayn defeated Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles in one of the most unique and nefarious ways I have ever seen. You want to talk about ingenious? Sami Zayn is genius. He is a genius. I don't know if ingenious is the right word. Maybe it is, but Sami Zayn, the genius, pulled off something tonight that you will not forget. What did we say? It's all about the moments. It's all about the memories. Sami Zayn made some memories tonight. This guy brought handcuffs to a ladder match. It's like bringing a shotgun to a knife fight, because if you can incapacitate your opponent in any way with those handcuffs, you have the decided advantage. And he took it one step further. This match was full of great spots. Good ladder match type spots, your typical Jeff Hardy off the top of the ladder through somebody, everything you would have expected to see in this match was pulled off, and it was done very well. There was still a few of those little spots that are kind of silly where, they could obviously get to the top of the ladder, but they're just stalling because it's not time to finish the match yet. You got to get over those things, which I did, because this match definitely deserved it. But it went up a whole nother notch when those handcuffs came out, and Sami Zayn handcuffed the loop of Jeff Hardy's ear. You know that big old hole he's got, the one that I think it was Randy Orton put the screwdriver through and was going to rip out and all that? Yeah, well, he put the handcuff through that loop and then attached the other end of the handcuffs to a ladder. Jeff Hardy's walking around with his ear with the world's biggest fucking earring on. A full-size ladder. Now there's hardcore and there's extreme, but that's just insanity. Straight up insanity. Genius maneuver. Genius. Because Sami Zayn's the only one that's got the key. How's Jeff Hardy gonna fight? He's not. He's done. And then he does even better. He gets AJ Styles as well. He handcuffs AJ Styles. And it gets AJ Styles to not be able to go up the ladder. Sami Zayn ends up your champion, not just because it was a great match, but because of very, very smart thinking. Definitely outsmarted all of us. None of us seen this coming, and this ladder match was fantastic. Probably the best main roster ladder match we've seen in years. I really enjoyed it, and I didn't care. I told you guys on Friday, that triple threat match that they had on SmackDown was just a tease, because if you enjoyed that, this was what it was all about, and they definitely went out there and delivered on what I promised you guys, which was that this was going to be a hell of a match, and it was a great way to kick off the show, but there was no way they were going to be able to keep momentum just based off of the card that they had booked. Now, we are big fans of Zelina Vega on this show, and we are fully supportive of Zelina Vega, and I told you guys that she's pretty good in the ring, and she was just fine tonight. It wasn't a great match that she had with Asuka. It wasn't terrible by any means. It was a little slow. Seems like maybe their chemistry was a little off. Maybe she was a little bit nervous. She's just getting back into the singles ranks, and here she is with a championship match on pay-per-view. Maybe there was a little bit of the jitters there, but there was definitely something a little off in this match, but not so off that it really ruined anything tremendously. It's not like we were watching Lacey Evans doing a bam bam. We don't need any of that. But Zelina Vega, you'll see as the weeks go on, she's going to be just as good, if not better, than the Mandy Roses and the Peyton Royces and everybody else that's getting TV time. So I didn't mind it too much. It was what we expected it to be. You knew Asuka wasn't going to lose, so that happened. Then we had the United States Championship on the line. Bobby Lashley versus Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews had to come out with Ricochet. Of course, Bobby Lashley came out with MVP. I really don't care about this anymore. We've been watching this feud for way too long. Nobody believed that Apollo Crews was going to win his championship back. The Hurt business is just doing too good right now as far as popularity and being the main focal point of Monday Night Raw. So I didn't see Bobby Lashley losing here. It would have been ridiculous to do so. So he wraps up Apollo Crews in the Hurt Lock. And that was it for Apollo Crews. Hopefully we can move away from this now and let Bobby Lashley fight other people. Let Apollo Crews go back to catering. Let him go back to NXT. Let him go to 205 Live for all I care. This little experiment didn't work out too well for him. It's doing good for Cedric. But as far as Ricochet and Apollo are going, they definitely need some time away from TV. Maybe a little repackage, maybe a little something else after the draft. They got to go away. Which they did announce the draft is coming in 2 weeks. Monday Night Raw and SmackDown doing a draft. Is it going to matter? I don't know. As long as the champions don't go anywhere, and hopefully they merge the women's division and they merge the tag team division. We ask for it every time a draft comes up. It would just make things so much easier. Have those two divisions floating between all shows. It doesn't matter. You don't have to book a segment if you don't want them on there. Just do something to fix it, because there's too many championships. None of them mean a goddamn thing. There are no tag teams. There's no women to fight anybody, which is why we had a repeat appearance by Asuka later on in the show, which we'll talk about in a second. But first, as we're talking about dead tag team divisions as well, let's talk about the Raw Tag Team Championship matchup. The Street Profits taking on Angel Garza and Andrade for the 3,000 millionth time, and sometimes you get what you ask for. And I don't mean that in a good way. Sometimes, when you keep pushing something, eventually it's going to snap and it's going to break. And Angel Garza got hurt in this matchup. Looked like he really tweaked his leg. People were saying that it might have been his quad. Whatever the case may be, the guy was messed up. You saw the referee throw up the X again, just like we seen on Monday Night Raw a couple of weeks ago for Ivar of the Viking Raider Warrior Raiders. And now this match is finished, just pretty much came out of nowhere. Nobody told Andrade that he had to lay down and they had to go home with this matchup, so he kicked out of a 3 count. He kicked out at 2, clearly kicked out at 2, but the referee counted 3. The Street Profits looked confused. Nobody knew what was going on. Another botched finish on live television in a match that shouldn't have even been happening. Now, Angel Garza is hurt, and you had to do this lame botch finish at your pay-per-view. All you really had to do was not book this match for the 100,000th time, because we didn't need to see it. And now on the tail end of it, somebody's hurt, and the TV show, the pay-per-view rather, suffered for it in the end. Just like SmackDown's Women's Champion Bayley coming out talking trash, throwing out an open challenge because Nikki Cross is not available and not cleared to wrestle tonight. We did not need Asuka to come out here for an impromptu confrontation that would be called for as an official match, and then Bayley gets herself disqualified, wasting all that time. The whole point of the segment was to have Sasha Banks come out and get some measure of revenge. So she's the one that should have came out when Bayley asked for a challenger. You wanted a challenger for your championship? That's when Sasha Banks should have hit the ring with her neck brace on, which looks a little bit ridiculous. You shouldn't be swinging chairs around and beating girls up while still wearing your neck brace. I understand, that it's probably not really hurt, and they're going with this angle to build everything, and it just looks a little bit silly. That's just me nitpicking. But, anyway, this whole entire segment could have been avoided. They didn't have to drag it out as long as they did. They didn't have to make Bayley lose to Asuka by disqualification. They didn't have to have Asuka twice on this show. All they had to do was have Sasha Banks attack Bayley and move on. But I'm thinking that the loss of the Women's Tag Team Championship match, because Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax were not available either due to health reasons, caused a really huge loss of television time probably gave that segment at least about 10 minutes, plus you got to add in the entrances of all 4 women, right? So that's a lot of TV time that they needed to fill. They chose to fill it here with this unnecessary match with Asuka. Definitely didn't need to happen in my view, but whatever. Bayley needed her spot on the show, and this is what they chose to do. I don't agree with it. Just like I don't agree with how they booked the WWE Championship matchup. The ambulance matches, these gimmick matches, man, they're so outdated, man, because we've seen it all, right? They've done it all. And in this matchup particularly, I thought that it was kind of lame the way they went about it. They turned this match that should have been a grudge match between Drew and Randy Orton into revenge for everybody. As we saw, the Big Show. The Big Show decided to shave. That's nice, I guess. But the Big Show shows up looking like a member of Retribution, gets involved in this matchup. And when that happened, I kind of felt like that was only the beginning and that they were going to go down the road that they did go down. But I also didn't want to believe that they were that stupid to do that. But if they were stupid enough to bring us the Big Show, then of course we were going to see Christian. Of course we were going to see Shawn Michaels. Of course we were going to see Ric Flair. I even gave them the benefit of the doubt. I thought they were going to get to the Ric Flair portion and then Flair was going to turn back on Randy Orton's side, like low blow Drew McIntyre and cause Randy Orton to win here. But that's not what happened at all. Instead, we got an overly long, overly booked ambulance match, which had a few really good spots. Not gonna lie, Drew McIntyre's back was torn up. Gotta give the guy respect. He went through a windshield. They were tearing apart the poor ambulance. They were beating up the ambulance more than they were beating up each other at one point. It was pretty wild at points, but it was too long and there were too many lulls in the action, watching them lay around on the floor, watching Randy Orton just walking around stalking, waiting to make his move and strike and, doing the typical Randy Orton thing. Just almost very similar to what we had to go through with Edge and Randy at WrestleMania. Just a little bit too long. If you would have trimmed about maybe 5, maybe even 10 minutes off that match and just did all of the hard spots, I think it would have been more beneficial to the match. It just dragged on and on and on, and I did not really like the involvement of everybody and everybody getting their kicks in on Randy Orton. They should have came out to get revenge, and Randy Orton should have RKO'd every one of them. Because otherwise it kind of makes Drew McIntyre look stupid, right? All of these legends came out and helped you, and it still took you 25 minutes to beat this guy. I don't know. There was just something a little bit off about it. And the one thing I think sucks the most is that they booked it this way in order to give a little bit of a hook for Hell in a Cell, which is just 4 weeks away. And what would be a reason why they would book Drew and Randy in a Hell in a Cell for the championship? Well, because of all of the rampant interference that went down in this ambulance match, which I could have definitely done without. But that's just me. But the main event, the star of the show, the saving grace of this whole entire pay-per-view was Roman Reigns and Jey Uso tearing it up. Now, first of all, Roman Reigns comes out. A little bit of a new look. He's not wearing any shirt. He's finally fully exposed. Everybody's always complained about his little flak jacket and that he was always covered up and that he's protecting himself and blah, blah, blah. But here he is. He's out there. He's got his very impressive Samoan tattoo that they all kind of have. The Rock has it. Everybody's got it going from the chest all the way down. Guy looked like $1 million. But you know what Roman doesn't need? Roman does not need Paul Heyman. This feud doesn't need Paul Heyman. He proved to me from Friday to tonight that the whole Paul Heyman thing is, I don't even know where it's coming from. I don't even know why they decided to go that route. He could literally do every single thing that he has done without Paul Heyman. Paul's barely said anything. He keeps getting interrupted when he does try to say something, so his presence there is useless, and it's actually bringing down the presentation for me just a little bit, because you're just forcing the Roman as Brock thing. And Roman can be his own thing. He doesn't need to be like the Brock Lesnar character. He doesn't need to be Paul Heyman's guy. He doesn't need to be anything. He needs to be the tribal chief. Because the one most interesting aspect and the one most important thing that they did here was that they proved that even when you lose, you can get over. It's a lost art because they forgot, for the most part, how to do this type of stuff. I don't know who was put in charge. I don't know if this was all Paul Heyman's idea. But whoever it is, definitely this is old school. They haven't lost their sense of what wrestling is truly all about. We all knew Jey Uso was not going to win this matchup, but it wasn't about that. Right from the start of the match, with the way Roman was talking down to his cousin, the way he kept saying, you should just take your paycheck. This is the beating I was talking about. You're going to get this beating. Just stay down. You just felt, you knew Roman was going to win, but you felt so bad for Jey in that moment that you kind of wanted him to get up and punch Roman in the face. Be like, shut him up. Don't let him talk to you like that. I was getting into it. And the longer this went, the harder it was getting to watch, because Jey Uso would come back and he'd make a flurry of offense and he'd get a couple of close 2 counts, actually looking on a couple of occasions like he almost may be able to steal this from Roman, even though we all knew that wasn't the case. But it escalated to a point where Jey almost couldn't even get up on his own power, forcing Jimmy Uso to run down there, the twin brother of Jey, who we all know, going down there to try to save his brother. We touched upon this at the beginning of the show, but this was really powerful. This was great stuff. It was reminiscent of that scene from Rocky right before Apollo Creed dies in Rocky IV, when the coach on the outside screaming, just throw the damn towel. And that was me. I'm like, throw the damn towel. Just throw it in, man. I don't want to see him beating him up like this anymore. It was vicious. It was brutal. It was uncomfortable. And it was fantastic. Fantastic. And it even went further, because Jey finally just beaten in the middle of the ring. Jimmy couldn't take it anymore. He threw in the towel. And then Roman wouldn't stop. So then Jimmy jumped in there and threw his own body in over his brother to protect him, which finally kind of snaps Roman out of it. But Jimmy was pressing Roman. Like, what's wrong with you, man? You want to be the tribal chief? Fine, you're the tribal chief. Is that what you want? What are you doing? This is family. This is what you want. This is what you wanted to do. What's wrong with you, man? And Roman's just standing there fuming. And then Roman gets leis put on him. He gets the flowers put around his neck, symbolizing the victory of the tribal chief. Standing there with the Universal Championship, as his cousin won, completely laid out, beaten half to death at his own hand, and the other one standing there next to him in tears, looking up at the big dog like, why, man? What the hell is wrong with you? It was fucking beautiful. It was beautiful. It was goosebumps. It was hair on the back of your neck standing up. It's what you're supposed to do with wrestling. And the fact that they're doing it with Roman shows you, it's proof, that it doesn't even matter who the superstar is. Because I'm not a Roman Reigns fan. You guys all know this. If you've been watching the show, you know I'm not like rooting for Roman to be the number one guy. But if he has the aptitude, he has the ability, and he has the look, and he can play the part like this, then this is the part he has to play. I don't even care about the rumors now of The Rock being his WrestleMania opponent. With this storyline starting from this moment, continuing on his momentum throughout the year, being on top of the WWE, putting down everybody. Maybe he's even going to take out Rikishi. Maybe he's going to beat up some other legend. He's got to face the real head of the table at some point. We all know that that's the most electrifying man in all of entertainment. And it's going to be a hell of a show if this dynamic can stay. And Roman's just lost his mind, man. All the power has gone to his head. He's taken the responsibility very, very seriously about providing for the whole family. And this tribal chief thing, it's great. It's great. It's way better than the Monday Night Messiah or King Corbin or any other heel gimmick that they got going on right now. The tribal chief is fucking great. Clash of Champions ended in a way that's making me look forward to seeing what's going to happen next this Friday on SmackDown, which is something they haven't done in a long time. They've invigorated my spirit in some cases with the Intercontinental Championship and that Universal Championship matchup. You gotta tune into SmackDown. Tomorrow's Monday Night Raw, I'm already not looking forward to it. This show, Clash of Champions, also had in its favor that there was no retribution, there was no Raw Underground. That's not going to be the case tomorrow night when we got to sit and go through 3 hours of Monday, which is going to feel like forever. This show tonight actually didn't even feel like a long dragged out thing. It was 3 hours, just like an episode of Raw. But it moved, and before you knew it, it was over. Just like this, right now, we have nothing more to really go into. This was a mediocre show at best with 2 fantastic matches. This is a 2-match pay-per-view. You got to watch those 2 matches, the first match and the last match. Everything else completely forgettable, and you'll probably see them again sometime this week or in the next 4 weeks as we now head towards that ridiculous red cage for Hell in a Cell. Thank you guys all so much for joining me here today. If you missed anything that went up on the channel this week, because there was stuff that you might have missed, like the SmackDown review that we put up on Saturday, and also Saturday night we premiered our latest issue or edition of the Sledgehammer series, where I drew Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa, the NWA Women's Champion, recently on AEW television. I figured it's almost Halloween time. She's got the whole Day of the Dead spooky vibe going on. I've already done The Fiend, I've already done Undertaker, and I like to do females and more than I like to do males, so I said let's do Thunder Rosa. So if you missed that, that'll be linked up in the annotations up above, along with everything else that your wrestling heart desires. We also have a retro Clash of Champions review, which I have up there. The first ever Clash of Champions done in a very different style that is not an original style that I totally stole from Cinema Sins, but it's fun and it's different. And some of you newer guys, some of the definitely new subscribers over the last couple of months, you don't know it's there because I did it over a year ago. So go check that out. I'll have it linked up there as well. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team. Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball, the most important member of the team, as always, each and every one of you sledgeheads out there. And if you're not a sledgehead, all you need to do is smash that subscribe button and become one right now. And then you can hit the like button for me if you enjoyed anything that we had to say or do here on the show today. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed the Roman Reigns segment, because we don't say that very often. And I'm looking forward to saying it more and more as the weeks go on. And then share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need to know everything that was wrong with this show, because there was still plenty wrong with it. Come on, there was the big show on this show. Can't get three stars. Can't be more than a 3-star show. Maybe 2 stars. 2.5. 2.5 maybe. As a whole. I don't know. You guys do the average. I'm not doing math. I'm more confused with the whole new math. I got to teach my kid this new math because we're doing school at home and it's making me forget how to do regular math. So you guys average it out. You let me know. How many stars do you give? How many hammers do you give Clash of Champions? Let me know in the comments down below. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here. We will see you tomorrow night for the Monday Night Raw review right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.